Good morning and happy January. Happy New Year, everyone. This is Tiara Cersei. I'm the content and digital marketing manager here at Atlas, and I'm so excited. I haven't talked to you all and been on the call in probably a month, which is a travesty. So good morning to all of our Atlas community and asphalt lifers. So glad you guys are on. If you can hear the sound of my voice, yay. Go ahead and put something in the chat. There's a couple ways to communicate with us. The main one is going to be via chat. And then if you're on your mobile device, you'll notice that in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a heart down there. Give us a couple of hearts. Let us know you like what you hear, that you're on. Somebody say good morning, hello, or hello. Either one works for me. Good morning, Dustin. What's up, BP? How are you guys? All of our Atlas crew is on. We're all excited about another year and excited to have all of you guys on. Hey, Heather, good morning. Alexis, Scott, great. No, Scott, this is not audio only. We're actually going to be sharing out the screen. You should be able to see an updated screen actually now on your screen. So you should see the promotional image out there with a register and a big welcome button. So we're waiting for a couple more people to get on, but super excited that you're here. If you're on and can hear me, go ahead and put something in the chat and let us know that you're here. Hey, Francisco from chat, how are you? Glad you're on. Hey, guys, we have a year packed full of really, really, really fun and really great stuff. If you have not jumped on the bandwagon to see all the cool things happening at Atlas, you need to do so. The first things first, though, I want to make sure you guys are updated on all things webinars. I just put in the chat for everyone. You'll see the link atlasroofing.com/webinars. That is the link that you'll go to right after this webinar. We want to hear your feedback. Tell us what's burning in your mind and heart for this year. Tell us what some of your goals are in those surveys, and then that way we can take that and put those into some valuable content. These webinars are offered absolutely free every month, and we do it because we really want to create a platform where you as a contractor can build your sales team, build yourself, build your business. And so we're looking forward to growing with you this year. And I'm so excited because we got our crew here. My main two buddies, I got Stan and Paul. So good morning, you guys.
Good morning. What's up, Asphalt Lifers? Happy new decade, not just the new year.
Yeah.
So
happy new decade. So how you guys doing? Excited?
Doing good. Ready for a new year. Paul, how you feeling, man? You ready for some 2020 vision?
I'm ready for 2020 and everything that has to go with it.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Well, we've got a lot of information to share today. I don't want to belabor the time, but I do. I said Happy New Year before. Happy decade, as Stan said a few minutes ago. Excited about all the things that are coming up with Atlas this year. As you all know Paul and Stan very well. Paul's our product manager here at Atlas for our Shingles and Underlayment division, and Stan is our director of sales at Atlas. And so I figured instead of doing a formal bio, we would get some fun facts from you guys. So Paul, why don't you go first? What is something that our audience does not know about you?
I'm going to share a fun fact, and you guys might think it's actually a strange fact. So I can't wait for the responses to come through, but I have never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, that's just the worst thing ever. Anyone
who
would deprive themselves of such joy?
Hey, that's the only story I have now going forward, so I'm sticking with it.
So at this point, you're not even going to eat one, so you can just die saying you never had it.
That's right. I've had Christmas presents with peanut butter and jelly in the package, and I still keep them separated.
Somebody's going to need to sneak it to him, pretend it's a ham sandwich.
Yeah, sure. Everywhere Paul goes, you guys, check out his calendar so you can sneak it in.
We need the Asphalt Life community mission to be to get Paul to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So.
PB&J.
That's right.
So Stan, tell us one fun fact about you that our audience does not know.
Well, I was actually, a lot of people don't know I was born in L.A.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lower Alabama. Lower Alabama is where I like to call it. Down there in Lower Alabama, Mobile, Alabama to be specific.
Wow.
So we're not talking West Coast LA. We're talking down south.
That was the punchline.
Yeah, I know. I got it.
Anyway, very proud of my roots. Mobile is an awesome place to be from. My dad was in the Coast Guard, so we moved around a lot, but I had the pleasure of being born on the coast in LA, Lower Alabama. So
I love it. Well, good. So fun stuff. Really excited to have you guys on to start the year off and really talking about consumer choice and premium products. How do you differentiate yourself as a contractor in a market that's very, very crowded? So without further ado, we'll get started.
Great. Well, yeah, I think what we're really going to talk about today is strategy, where product can help with strategy. I think one of the things I always like to start a conversation about strategy with a bunch of successful business owners is, as the manufacturer, we don't for a second think that product is the end-all, be-all of your strategy, and it's certainly not the most important thing that you all have to do on a daily basis. What a manufacturer or distributor's goal should be is really to be bringing value with what we're offering and adding to that strategy. So at the caveat, we know that product is not a strategy. A business strategy, as you all know as business owners, has to do with a lot of things. It has to do with the types of work that you go after. It has to do with your marketing and branding strategy. It has to do with, the people that you hire in your training processes and what your installation best practices and specifications look like. What we want to sort of peel the veil back a little bit from our perspective and what we've learned from contractors who really are trying to control their profitability future is that using choice and using premium products with value-added features and turning that into a pricing strategy with your consumers is really a way to control more of that in a highly commoditized space. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The strategy is really important for growing business, but I also think we're in a crowded space of influencers right now, where if you go on Facebook, you go to trade shows, there's so many people trying to get your attention, Atlas being one of them, obviously, which is why you're on this webinar. And we're trying to get your attention, and there's so much talk about growth, grow. Everybody wants to grow and scale and all these things, and that's true. But I like to also point out that growing and scaling does not necessarily mean that you have to just be getting bigger and doing more work. It also means that you can grow and scale your profit margins. It means that you can evolve your business and grow and scale your brand. So that word grow has to mean something different for every business based on what your goals are. So I think the most important part of a growth strategy is really level setting with yourself and your business partners on where am I trying to get? What type of business am I trying to build? What am I trying to do for myself and my family? What am I trying to do for my employees? And what do I want this to look like in 5 to 10 years? Am I growing this to create a lasting legacy that'll be a multi-generational business or carrying on a multi-generational business? Am I trying to grow into multiple markets? Am I trying to grow this to sell it? Those are questions that only you can answer. So we're going to help try to just show how product can assist with that. So we're going to talk a little bit to start about how challenging the market is. So these are the publicly available data that is published by ARMA. And I think the point I want to make here, if you don't know who ARMA is the Asphalt Roofing Manufacturers Association. And every quarter they publish what the entire industry did. And over the last couple of years, the market has been pretty flat. The market was down about 5% in 2018, and it was up about 4% through Q3, and we're waiting for those end-of-year numbers, probably be very close to that. So you look at that and it says down 5, up 4, it's about flat. And the point I'm trying to make here is in your markets, you're going to have years that go up a little and years that come down a little. There's always the big bumps and drops in the market, but relatively speaking, the market's about flat. And if we go to the next slide, I think we're going to sort of drive home the fact, though, that you're in the right business, but you can't be hoping on the market to change for your business to evolve, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to control that. I love Star Wars, and the best line I've ever heard in a Star Wars movie is "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope," right? Because it leads to a wonderful meme like this. I wish that Obi-Wan Kenobi would have leaned back over to Luke and said, "Luke, listen, man, hope is not a strategy," right? Sure. You know, because that is really so fun and true. Like, those movies are fun, but in business and in life, hope gets you only so far, right? You know, and I think that, you know, it's people that are really making a difference are the ones that are actually building out a strategy and not relying on hope. When I travel, I hear things like, "Man, I hope that we have a hailstorm." Yeah. Or "I really hope that we get some weather. I hope that the market turns around," mm-hmm. right? Or "I hope my competitors get their darn price up." You know, they're just out there giving stuff away. You know, we can't control any of these things, right? So what we have to pivot back to is, what can I control, right? So as we go in, though, you're in the right business. So even though the market's somewhat flat, residential improvement spending continues to go up. So 3M provides some data on their research every year. And again, you can see here from about 2013 through now, private residential home improvement spending continues to rise. And I think the other thing that we look at is that, the roofing is the biggest project for exterior renovators. So if you're doing exterior projects, roofing is probably one of the most important things to be in, nice. Which is why I think we've seen a lot of traditional remodeling companies that have been in siding or windows get into roofing, because it's, you know, this is a product that, you know, homeowners are looking for and need. The other thing is the average life expectancy of a roof in the United States of America is about 20 years. And that sort of averages out regular replacement cycles, but also looking at hail and weather events and hurricanes. So the roofs are staying on about 20 years, all things considered. So there's a cycle of turnover in this business. At the end of the day, again, you're in the right business. So how do you go get more than your fair share in this business that's a pretty good business to be in? So what's the strategy? And the strategy really goes back to not behaving like a commodity. And, you know, like I started this conversation out, there are many ways that you as a business can look at this and say, how do I not behave like a commodity? One of the most important things, I think, is to be evaluating what your competitors are doing in the market. You know, there's some best practices out there where you can be elevating your processes to what other contractors you respect in your market are doing. Mm-hmm. But then there's other things you've got to find and say, I see everybody doing it this way. What if somebody approached that in a different way? I see everybody selling this product. What if I sold a different product? What if I sold something that was more expensive that most people won't even pitch in the home? And that's a little bit of where we're going to go today. If you've seen me speak before, you know that we like to talk about things like this. So, but I think it's always important to go back to, because there are examples in every industry of companies and organizations that looked at traditional commodity products and said, we can go and make really good money and build a really powerful brand and not be viewed in the same way that other commodity products we're competing with are. If you look at Apple, Starbucks, Yeti, and Under Armour, I always ask people what they think these companies have in common, but because we're on a webinar, I can't do that. But let me tell you a few things that these companies have in common. Number one, highly respected brands overall, right? Whether you purchase these types of products or not, it doesn't argue with the fact that they're very successful, highly visible, and highly successful brands. The second thing they have in common is they are the most expensive products in their respective categories. Right. Yeti cooler, you can't find a more expensive cooler than a Yeti. It's hard to find a more expensive cup of coffee than a Starbucks cup of coffee. Apple, the only people that discount Apple products are Apple's distributors, right? You're paying a monthly payment program or getting a free iPhone because AT&T or Verizon wanted you to.
Right.
They're charging $1,000 for that phone. And Under Armour, it's a $60, $70 polo, right? So these are expensive products that are very popular because they've done a couple things. They've established powerful brands, but they've also built value in that consumers weren't expecting, right? When Under Armour came out, we were all perfectly fine wearing our white cotton T-shirts, right? We had to see something new and say, oh my gosh, that makes sense. Why didn't I think of that? Has anybody ever had that moment watching Shark Tank? Like, why didn't I think of that, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what you've got to do as a business owner and an entrepreneur is, why didn't I think of that? What am I doing that's different? So view your business in this way because you have a lot of competition and because there's a lot of ways that your competitors are trying to do the same thing. But the other thing to ground this whole conversation is, final slide from what 3M reports on every year, is that, when consumers who recently bought a roof, they survey consumers that recently purchased a roof, and they go to an independent home innovations research lab, and they ask them, what was the reason for the choice that you made with the roof that you put on? And only 13% of respondents in 2017 said that price was the primary driving factor behind the brand choice they made. So the powerful takeaway there is 87% of people said something other than price. They said it was the warranty, the contractor recommendation, the brand reputation, style, color, only choice given, but it was something other than price. So what that should tell you is price is important, but it is not the most important thing for most of your customers. So how do you play to that consumer mentality? So now I'm going to pivot a little bit into talking about the consumer mentality and how you can use choice to help play on that consumer mentality. So how many people on this call are consumers? Just go ahead in your office. I can't see you. Just raise your hand because you're all consumers.
That's right.
We all consume things. We all buy things. We all experience consumerism, right? Every single day. We're bombarded by television ads and Facebook ads and, ads on our news outlets and ads on billboards, and we are ads on radio. We are bombarded. We are consumers. We walk into the Best Buy, and what do we see? We see the good, better, best on steroids everywhere we go, right? So the thing that's really powerful, I think, about observing our own consumer behavior is that choice is a big part of that consumer experience. So when you think about what your customers are feeling, okay, just think about how you would feel with the way your sales reps are pitching them. I think that's the simplest way to assess. If my salesperson walked into my home and pitched me the way I taught them, what would my experience be? How would I feel about that, right? Okay, and we don't have all the answers. There's differing opinions about this. But I think the large thing that I want to get to is put yourself in the customer's shoes by thinking about how you would respond to your own pitch. Right. And the thing that we have seen tried over and over and over again to sort of address this idea of choice is a good, better, best approach. And I think there's an inherent flaw in this. But before I even get to good, better, best, what we see happening a lot in our industry is you've made a decision about what shingle brand you're going to bring in the home or what system you're going to put on or how you're going to build out a roof, right? You've got specs, okay, and you may not even provide multiple brand choices or multiple style choices or color choices. And so I'm speaking to the general roofing industry that we observe is that they may not even be doing a good, better, best. They may just be doing here's what we do, here's what we want, you guys make a color selection, right? And I think that we've seen a trend of some people going to a good, better, best scenario, right? Because it's a tried and true, right? But I think the flaw with good, better, best is you sort of start out your pitch on the same playing field as most of your competition, which is a good, right? No one's saying I'm not going to put a good roof on, right? I'm going to replace your roof, and here's sort of my base offering, and it's competitive with what everybody else is. And I think the thing about this is you're all competing in markets that have top price tolerances.
Right.
So in Atlanta, Georgia, people are competing at whatever. I'll just throw a number out. It might seem high or low, but, $350 a square is the market in Atlanta, let's say, for example. And everybody feels like, well, I've got to build my primary offering to meet what I know the market is doing. That's sort of the flaw, though, because you're staying in a commodity mindset. You're keeping yourself with everyone else. If we flip to the next slide, what we're going to see is flip this strategy on its head. And if you take a new approach of leading with the best product, the best system, the highest out-of-pocket possible for the customer, if that's your lead-in pitch, you have now completely flipped the script. You do look different, you do look more expensive, and you're probably showing a product or a system that your competition is never showing, right? Best, better, good allows you to drop back and frame the competition as just good, right? They didn't even offer a better, right? When you have to work up, it's a lot harder than working down. So best, better, good. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to show you a couple of things that we think can get there. But there's multiple ways you can do this, and product can be one of them. So we'll show that, but it also could just be in the way you build the roofing system, in the upgrades that you offer. It could be in warranty programs that you offer, whether that's warranty programs from the manufacturer or warranties that you offer, upgraded workmanship warranties. But your best product, your lead effort should be the most amount of differentiation, top performing product or system, and it should be a stretch for the customer.
Yeah.
High out of pocket for the customer. You don't want to leave money on the table for consumers that will be willing to spend more, that you can't assess that through pre-qualifying questions. The first drop down in that better category, we think, is where most of your sales will come from with a best, better, good approach. It's the first drop. There's still value-added product or system-based stuff, differentiation, and it's a small out-of-pocket from the customer from what they maybe are seeing on other quotes or what the insurance is willing to pay. I know a lot of you do insurance work, so this maybe should be a little bit more out-of-pocket than just the deductible, right? Make them stretch a little bit. And then I think the good is it's your last resort commodity offering, deductible only for the customer if it's insurance. But the key here is this is everyone else.
Yeah. This
is where you frame the competition and say, I can do what that other estimate says, but that's going to be my good option, right? Let's compare apples to apples. Let me show you the upgrades. Are you sure you want to give up this, right? And what we think will happen is if you build a sales process and an estimating process that allows you to best, better, good, you're going to get sales in every category, and you're not giving up selling the price point system. If we click to the next slide, our product line on our laminate shingles sort of lines up nicely to do this at Atlas. So StormMaster Shake, Pinnacle, and ProLam, our architectural shingle lines, are really built to allow you within the Atlas family to do this.
Right.
StormMaster Shake with Scotchgard and our Core4 Technology, which Paul's going to get into here in a few minutes. Pinnacle Pristine with a lifetime warranty against black stains on the roof, backed by 3M and Scotchgard, a powerful brand. Homeowners are going to see value in that and want to spend more money on that if presented the right way. And then ProLam is equivalent to other leading shingle brands in terms of warranty, color options, and other things. So if you have an approach that is different from this but utilizes the same philosophy, great. This could be a multi-manufacturer strategy, right? You may have StormMaster, Pinnacle, and then brand X in category one. There's a lot of ways that you can approach this, but we do believe that consumer choice, if you're given three options, okay, and you have a budget, okay, and there's a really expensive option, an option that's maybe a little bit more than you wanted to spend, but you see the value in it, you don't want to give up on that key feature, and then there's the cheap one. we think most people gravitate to the middle.
Right.
We think the numbers end up being about 70% are going to go with option 2, 15% are going to go cheap, back to the numbers we saw from 3M, and 15% are going to upgrade.
Right.
The really key thing is you will never sell the upgrade on 10 to 15% of your jobs if you never pitch it, which is why we believe that the companies that decide I'm going to show the upgrade on every single pitch are going to have a much better chance of selling it. Actually, they're going to have the only chance of selling it than the companies that never show it or just wait to be asked about it, okay? So the last thing I'm going to talk about here before I turn this over to Paul to talk a little bit about the StormMaster Shake product specifically and Core4 and what we've done with that product line is how this can financially benefit your company by taking this approach. So it's one thing for me to sit up here and say, okay, use a best, better, good philosophy because consumer choice, consumer behavior, because Atlas wants you to do it, right? Yeah. Because, of course, we're motivated. We want to sell higher-end products, too, because we want to sell value. We want our contractors to be out differentiating with our differentiated products. But the real rubber meets the road when you talk about how this affects you and your salespeople's ability to make money. If you look at a very basic example, okay, there's lots of ways you could punch holes in this, but this is what I think is a very fair, basic example. If you have $1 million producing salesperson, right, meaning they sold 100 jobs and you have a 10% flat commission structure on an average sale of 10,000 jobs, they're going to get paid $100,000 in commission, the salesperson will, on $1 million in sales. So that's a heck of a year right there. That is a great year. And this is where I go back to the idea of scaling versus growing. You can grow your profits by changing your product mix and your go-to-market strategy. Yes. This is hey, we sell a $10,000 roof. I have a 10% commission structure. I've locked in the spec. I know what manufacturer I want my people selling. Versus, let's go and take a look at what this might look like for your salesperson with a different strategy. A different strategy like our best, better, good strategy where you still offer your $10,000 commodity roof offering, but your best option is $13,000 and your first upgrade is $10,500. Not $11,000, not $12,000, but it's $500 more for some value add like Pinnacle with Scotchgard. What happens for your sales rep on a straight 10% commission structure is they're going to make, on average, if you break out the same 100 jobs, the way I talked about it earlier, 70% are going to go middle, 15% are going to go high, 15% are going to go low. What you're going to find is the total annual commission for your rep is going to go up by $8,000 for the same number of jobs. Your rep didn't have to go, you didn't have to produce another lead. Your rep didn't have to go make another phone call. If you convert the same number of jobs with a different product mix, a different consumer strategy, the rep makes more money. Yeah. Now look what happens for the owner if we click to the next slide. The owner of the business makes $46,000 on the same number of jobs. Okay? This is a pricing strategy, but it's also a consumer strategy. You bring more value for your consumer. You can charge more money for those upgrades, and everybody makes more money. Yeah. If you want to know more about this, if you want to poke holes in this, if you want to get copies of this, we would be happy to share this with you and talk about this as a strategy. But it's a way to have a win-win-win. It's a win for the customer because they're getting choice. They're getting value. It's a win for your sales rep, and it's a win for you as a business owner.
For sure.
So the last thing I'm going to just sort of touch on here about this is that if you're on this call, you probably know that Atlas makes shingles with Scotchgard Protector. And I think that we don't want to not mention that any chance we get because that's where we view that middle option. Our Pinnacle flagship product is all about bringing value with a lifetime warranty against stains backed by 3M and Scotchgard that customers will look at and say, I do see value in that. And value equates to they're willing to pay more for that. Because what you have to do is you have to remember what you're selling. Most of you on this phone call are getting opportunities to replace roofs, not because customers are looking to spend money on a roof that's not leaking over a kitchen remodel project. They're calling you because they have a problem.
Right.
I've got a leak. I've got some shingles in the bushes that blew off in a windstorm. There was a hailstorm that came through. God forbid it was a hurricane situation, right? You know, there's a lot of reasons why you get calls, and usually it's, Houston, we've got a problem. Fix me, make me whole. Get the water from coming in, right? But when you're in that home, you have an incredible opportunity to affect the curb appeal. And the curb appeal is the part that is talked about the least. The curb appeal is where you have to remember that you're selling the impact on their whole curb appeal. What people see from the curb is what they think about that house. One of our sales reps in Long Island, Josh Van Dusky, did this slide, and I loved it so much that I'm giving him a shout-out on this. But if you actually click a couple of times for me there, Tiara, we spend so much money keeping the curb appeal looking good for our house. One more click. And he sort of equated it like this. He said, look, if you pressure wash your driveway and maybe your siding or your pavers, that's probably $650 minimum a year. You probably spend $1,800 in landscaping a year to have somebody mow the lawn, trim, blow, put mulch down. If you got a pool, it's another $1,000. Look at all the money we spend to keep things looking good on the outside. But, oh, look at what's happening on the roof. I've got an ugly black streaked up roof, right? The roof has an incredible impact on curb appeal, and that's how you can use that best, better, good strategy to drive value and actually justify being a little more expensive from all your commodity competitors. And we do that with Scotchgard, Scotchgard Protector from 3M. We partnered with them on their Scotchgard technology, and you've all seen this, so I'm just going to show one more slide on this, which is really, if you are trying to figure out how could I justify selling this product for a little bit more, look no further than this image, and make sure you've got copies of this in the home. If you're on this call and you're not selling Atlas as your everyday product, I would just encourage you to take this picture and say, I want to make sure you're aware of this option to make sure I could put Scotchgard on your roof. Don't let your consumer not know that this option is available to them. This is how you build a higher value, higher cost roof that actually has more value for your customer because it's keeping the curb appeal looking good. So with that, we're going to pivot because we're going to spend the second half of this webinar talking specifically about how you can build in value with that best category. The category where we think very few contractors are going to be willing to sell a much more expensive roof in order to be different, because it sort of becomes afraid of the price, right? Am I going to even get the call back if I'm several $1,000s more than my competition? But it's all about having the features and benefits to justify and back that up. And that's what we've done with our StormMaster Shake product line with Core4 enhanced polymer technology. So I'm going to turn it over to my buddy Paul Casseri.
All right, thanks, Dan. That was an interesting conversation on the best, better, good strategy. And with our Core4 product, this is our latest on innovation with Atlas. We've rolled out Scotchgard, we've rolled out HP42, we have designer colors, and now it's Core4. So, what does Core4 mean? Core4 will actually help you lead in that best category. It's a new enhanced polymer designed shingle. So, Tara, go ahead and do that. There's a lot of wrapped up into this shingle, and I'll get into the details here in a minute. But we're going to talk about StormMaster Shake. We're going to talk about the Core4, what Core4 means. But you can look at this slide here and see all the value that we have wrapped up into this shingle. So, this is really where you want to lead. And then it's much easier, like Stan said, to fall back in terms of shingle offerings than it is to move up. So there's a lot of benefit and value wrapped up into this shingle. But let's talk more specifically about Core4 and what does Core4 mean. So Core4 is 4 pillars of technology and performance that we have built into the shingle. This is our latest innovation. We are taking a shingle that has been in the market for a while. You guys know impact-rated shingles, probably most of you, or have heard about impact-rated shingles. And we've used the technology for the last 25 years, which is called SBS. So SBS. And that's an older technology. We thought to ourselves, shingles should be much more than just about impact. right? There's a broader market, broader appeal. It's much more attractive if you elevate it away from just an impact market. So we actually came out with a proprietary blend of polymer that we blend into our shingle, and we call it Core4. It's made of these 4 core pillars, so Polycore, FlexCore, WeatherCore, and ThermoCore, and we'll talk about those specifically here in the next few slides. So let's talk about Polycore. This is the bones, this is the guts of the shingle itself. This is where we made all the enhancements. We're using a proprietary blend of a proprietary virgin blend of polymers now. You see some manufacturers out there using recycled. We talked about SBS as an older technology. We've actually formulated this and innovated this over the last 3 years and have now just released it here in the last year or 6 months. And this shingle by far outperforms any shingle on the market there today. It does go beyond all the technology we have out in the market today. So pillar 1 is Polycore. The next pillars and the next few pillars, we're going to talk about a little bit of the performance attributes of the shingle itself. So what does this new polymer allow the shingle to do? Our next pillar is called FlexCore. It allows it to be much more flexible in colder weather. For you guys that are in colder climates, today it might be in the 20s. It might even be colder than that. Here in Georgia, it's not too bad. It's probably in the 50s or low 60s. But everybody runs into colder weather, and you're asked the question, can we install shingles in colder weather? And I want to address this on this call because I think it's important. So with this new technology, we do have built into the flexibility into the shingle down to 0 degrees. And a lot of manufacturers say you can install shingles down in cold weather. But I want to make this point pretty clear is that with our Core4 technology and the polymers that we put into it and the polymers that we put into our sealant line, you're going to get a lot more activation. You can install shingles pretty much in any climate, right? I mean, if you want to get on the roof in -10 degrees, you can get on the roof in -10 degrees. What are the problems that you're going to encounter? If you use a standard shingle, you're going to encounter cracking and breaking. It's not going to be flexible. It's going to snap in half. So just be careful there. This shingle is guaranteed to be pliable down to 0 degrees. You can install it, but always be concerned about the thermal activation of the sealant line. You do have to hand seal in any cold temperature, regardless of the manufacturer. But FlexCore gives you that flexibility, and it gives you that confidence that you can install shingles in colder climates. So the next pillar is going to be ThermoCore, and this one probably everybody can relate to. So what happens in ThermoCore? There's a lot of effects that happen on your roof in cold climates, hot climates, day-to-day weather and temperature swings. But this new Core4 polymer mitigates the effects of thermal shock. So a great example of that is just imagine you're on your house is out there, your roof is 110 degrees, 120 degrees on a nice sunny June day. Temperature's 95 degrees, your roof could be 130 degrees. You get a rainstorm that comes through and instantly drops your roof temperature down to 70 degrees or 60 degrees. That's thermal shock. So your shingle in your house expands and contracts. So as that expands and contracts, there's a few things to be considered there. You can have some excess granule loss. You're going to see some shingle fatigue and breakdown. But this polymer is actually flexible in design. It's elastic. If you've ever seen one of our tins, you can take this polymer, you can take this asphalt out, and you can mold it, shape it, pull it, bend it, and stretch it, let it go, and it's going to go back into the same shape it came out of the can. So it's very, very impressive. It does have the ability to move with the temperature, move with thermal shock, and it's going to actually hold your granules a lot better on your shingle. So let's talk about the third pillar, actually the fourth pillar, which is WeatherCore. This is what you guys typically relate to some sort of impact rated shingle. Does it pass a UL 22 Class 4 rating shingle? It does. It's the first shingle on the market. Because we have this polymer embedded on there, we're going to go well beyond just an impact rated shingle with ThermoCore and FlexCore, but we're also going to give you a 150-mile-an-hour wind warranty on this shingle as well. So you might ask yourself, well, how do you guys do that? How are you guys giving 150-mile-an-hour wind warranty, which is brand new, never been done in the market before? And the reason is of where we place our sealant line. The formulation of our sealant is the same formulation as our shingle asphalt. So chemically, if you go back to chemistry class, back in high school or in college, when two similar products bond together, they're going to have a much greater bond than two similar products that are just like together, right? So there's always going to be some breakdown, and it's not going to be as cohesive if the products are close. But if they're the same, then they're going to chemically bond a lot better. So our sealant line, where it's placed, it adheres to the backside of the course as you go up. Because it's made of the same polymer, it's going to have that chemical bond that we're going to offer 150-mile-an-hour wind warranty. And that just shows you a little bit of a blow-up version there of where our sealant lines are. I think you guys are probably familiar with that. But there's a lot of technology that's going into this shingle, where we put our sealant line and where it's placed. And then again, we can always fall back. This also has the attributes of an impact-rated shingle as well. So UL 2218 Class 4 does pass the most stringent impact rating on the market today. They drop a 2-inch steel ball. If you guys have never seen this test, they drop a 2-inch steel ball from 20 feet. They impact the shingle in the same location twice on the shingle, and they do that 4 times on the shingle. So twice in one location, then they move it twice in another location, up to 4 times on that shingle, and then they look for cracking, breaking, penetrations, excessive granular loss on the shingle. So you have to pass all those criteria to be a Class 4 impact-rated shingle, and this passes that with flying colors. I'm going to go back one more. There's also, we switched that slide. Okay, there it is again. So there are insurance discounts to be had because the shingle is Class 4 rated. So make sure that your homeowners or you guys can call out to your local insurance companies. You might have some national insurance companies, might be local insurance companies.
Yeah.
But ask your insurance companies about discounts when you install a UL 22 Class 4 rated impact shingle, because you do get discounts. We've seen discounts in the 40% discounts off of your premiums every year in Oklahoma and Texas. And so it really can fluctuate depending on where you are in the country, but most insurance companies will give you a premium discount for having Class 4 rated impact shingles on your roof. So it actually pays you back over time. Yep. This is, this next slide, IBHS, this is a company, Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety. This is a company that did an independent audit for insurance companies, and they wanted to see what's in the market and what is really performing to a Class 4 impact rating, right? So this IBHS is actually funded by the insurance companies. Everything gets reported back to those guys. It's more like a consumer reports for the insurance company, and home building products is really what they're trying to do. So the insurance companies went out to IBHS, which is their research lab, and said, let's take a look at all the shingles on the market today, and are they performing to what and how they say they perform when it comes to a Class 4 rating? So they went out and purchased shingles off the market from distribution channels, that the same distribution channels you guys deal with every day. They brought those into their lab, and they did an extensive study on real life performance of shingles with the closest we can get to real life hail, because they've actually invented a hail producing mechanism that actually shoots these things out of a cannon. So they're producing hail. Their company is full of scientists, and they do a great job with density and all these types of things. So they wanted to look at what is the real impact of what's being sold in the market today. And they did that study, and it was just published probably a few months ago. So go to the next slide. So it was published, and you can see there with the chart on the right, this is an independent testing agency. We had nothing to do with it. They asked, they told us they were doing this. They told all the manufacturers they were doing this. They pulled these shingles directly out of distribution, and you can see where this Atlas StormMaster Shake shingle actually landed on their rating chart. So just like Consumer Reports, You got the circles, you got the dots, and you can see the quality. We were number one over every other manufacturer out there in the market today, and you can pick your favorite. So, this is not only tested by the standard testing agencies like UL 2218 that everybody knows about, but it's also being looked at from research facilities and more importantly by the insurance companies. And with all the attributes that we discussed here with Core4, there's a lot built into the shingle. So go to the next slide. I think we have a video on just what they do here, and this is just a one-shot video. And that's in slow motion, but they designed the hail, they designed the density, they put it on the deck, and then they're shooting this stuff into their impact is probably at 72 miles an hour. That's actually slowed down so you guys can see it. But it's a catastrophic real life test, and they're testing every manufacturer shingles out there, and we pass with flying colors. So we are really, really confident in our Core4 design with our Core4 pillars of technology and success, and we think that you should lead with this when you talk about that best, better, good strategy that Stan talked about earlier, and this really sets yourself apart.
Certainly something you want to tell your homeowners about too.
Oh, absolutely. Give them the choice. The shingle pays for itself. Good point with with insurance discounts. It does a lot more than just hail impacts, right? But it does do impacts. And when we talk about impacts, guys, it's just not hail impacts as well. It's tree limbs, it's foot traffic, it's a lot of different things that can happen on the roof on there. So that's just what an independent agency is doing. Just want to round this discussion out with just our color offering. We just expanded our color offering to 10 colors. So we have designer colors here now, and then we have our next slide is going to be more of a standard color. But that is our StormMaster Shake. That's our StormMaster product line. That's our Core4 technology. We spent years developing it. We're proud to introduce it, and there's a lot of value wrapped up into this premium shingle for sure.
Yep, it's awesome.
Yeah, and we're going to kind of close things out here on urgency ideas, but the thing I'll say too is that this is such a great product. And we've been making modified polymer impact rated products for almost 30 years. And so Atlas has been in this business. We know how to run these products. We know how to make these products. We work very closely with key asphalt sourcing partners on creating high quality polymers that are going to enhance the longevity and performance of the roof. But the key here, why are we saying that this should be positioned as a lead product in any market, is because these products, these polymer modified products, have traditionally just been marketed in areas where there's a significant amount of hail and insurance companies offer discounts. But as Paul very clearly laid out, these products do a lot more than just protect against impact. Atlas StormMaster Shake is not only the #1 rated impact product by a third party in IBHS, but it's got that flex core, easier to manage and handle, less granule loss. It's got better mechanical uplift performance ratings. It's going to have the highest wind rating of any product on the market today, up to 150 miles per hour wind warranty. So when you're looking at coastal areas and coastal zones, it's the only shingle, asphalt shingle, that you can sell today with 150 mile per hour wind warranty.
Great.
So a lot to offer here, and talking about granule loss over time with heating and cooling, there's a ton of potential. If you want to look for something that has a lot of value so you can justify that high-end price and that best category, this is a product that can do it. So we talked about a strategy. We talked a little bit about an Atlas product that has been enhanced over the last couple years with new features and new selling benefits. I want to sort of close this thing out, and we'll leave a few minutes for questions and talk just briefly about urgency. One of the other things that you've got to do with consumers is create urgency. I have learned so much from listening to contractors about how they create urgency to get contracts signed. And we also think there's a few things that we still see everybody needs to adopt if you really want to be able to drive urgency in a way that's not going to be get you kicked out of the house, right? So let's go ahead and talk about a couple of those items. The first thing I want to talk about on urgency is project affordability. One of the big things that so many consumers struggle with on a roofing project is affordability. even before you go in and show them a price, they're expecting a roof to be expensive because they've done a little research. They know, right? They don't want to go spend 10 grand on a roof. They know they have to spend it. And affordability can be addressed not just by helping them try to get it paid through insurance. It can also be addressed by having a proactive approach to credit cards, right? There's a lot of people that want to swipe their credit card and get those points, even if they've got cash on hand to buy it, right? That's an affordability strategy. And then there's all sorts of great new flexible financing companies out there to help you provide options. And I think the one thing we see is that there's a lot of reactive strategies to credit cards and financing as opposed to proactive strategies. So I'm going to just touch on these briefly because I think it's really important. And I'm going to start with credit cards. There's a lot of what we see as sort of a surcharging mentality. Now, there's areas where surcharging is illegal, right? So you can't even do it.
Right.
So there's one reason not to have a surcharging model. But the other reason is because it just doesn't feel transparent, right? You know, if you get the question, do you take credit cards? A lot of times I've seen where, people who are doing home services, I say, hey, can you take a credit card? And they say, sure, but it's 3% to run it, right? So that still happens in areas where there's no sort of illegal surcharging laws on the books. And that feels like, oh, you hid something from me. There was something hidden in your price. If you look at a proactive approach and look at all the costs that you could incur to sell a roof, you should be building that into your cost. Build in 5% for credit cards or other miscellaneous processing administrative fees. And then when you get the before do you take credit card question, you get your price is a little high compared to some others. Is that the best you can do? What you can do is you can have a cash discounting structure. You can say, hey, we feel confident it's a great deal based on what we showed you, but we can offer a cash discount of 5%.
Right.
That is a proactive strategy to dealing with this as opposed to a reactive strategy. So credit cards should be listed on your website, on your invoice, on your trucks. We take credit cards. Don't shy away from it because it costs you money, because that may be the reason that you are considered, right? Whether you promote the fact that you take credit cards. So we've got some partners we can introduce you to if you're interested in finding out more about saving some money on credit cards, but I want to talk about it as a strategy. The next part of this that I want to talk about is just general back to consumer behavior. We are always dealing with, can I get an upgrade, right? I want to get the bigger iPhone that's got 17 cameras on it, because who doesn't need 17 cameras on a phone, right? I want to get the convertible. I want to get the triple sofa with the recliner. I want to get that bigger rock, So we are in a society that is so focused on upgrading. So in order to be able to do that, you're going to need to help them flex their budget with promotional financing. Promotional financing helps meet two types of buyers. It helps meet cash buyers that just want to stretch the value of the money they've got in the bank, but it also helps with people that need a low monthly payment option, or who are just saying, hey, I'd love to upgrade to that StormMaster, but I don't have an extra $2,500 on hand.
Right.
Oh, well, I tell you what, if you love that roof, you will not be sorry you did it. I can finance the upgrade cost for that roof, right? So there's lots of ways you can use financing, and financing is paramount for helping consumers find legal ways to pay for the deductible, helping you take a position that, no, I cannot help you with your deductible like somebody else said, because I'm trying to make sure that you don't go to jail, right? And this is becoming a bigger and bigger issue out in the marketplace today. Use financing as your path to solve their deductible cash flow problem. Don't go and find other less legal creative options. So that's an urgency factor on financing. The second thing is show pictures. Urgency is about seeing the problem. So many people are going to say to you, if they're on the fence, well, can we just repair it? Is there a way that we could just get by with a repair?
Right.
The power of having tools like Company Cam, for example, on your side, or other photo management tools, is that you get to document all the things on the roof before, and you can show them to your customer and say, I want you to see all the problems that aren't getting any better, right? And it helps you sell the job, but it also helps you deal with protecting yourself after the job by having lots of photos of what it was like before you started and after if there's discrepancies. Couple more things on urgency. Please take advantage of your job site. Get creative to make sure that you are driving urgency in the neighborhood, that I am doing a job at this house. I am a contractor in this neighborhood, and if you're looking to have me look at your house and look at your roof, I'm right here. I see so many job sites where I could not even tell who the contractor is that's doing the job. Huge missed opportunity because everybody looks at a crew in progress. We're all like, oh, what's Mrs. Smith doing? I got to go knock on her door and find out what she's doing. She's upgrading the neighborhood, right? So make sure that you brand in whatever ways you can. And if you're in neighborhoods that have funny HOA policies about yard signs, get creative. Get a tent made with your logo on it. And if somebody complains about the tent, set it up so it's the crew's tent, so they're staging material and having their lunch there, right? Get creative and get your brand any way you can. Hire somebody that does nothing but go from job to job to make sure that your job sites look uniform every time. I've seen companies like the Catch-All that are branding, the tear-off process. There's so many ways you can do this. Spend that money. You will not regret it. And then finally, take care of your website, right? We have a tool called the Web Injector, but make sure you're keeping prospects on your website. And the way that you keep prospects on your website is don't link to a competitor or your manufacturer's websites. Okay, don't link to Atlas. I don't want your traffic, okay? You need to keep people on your website to convert them. So this is just a little tidbit in urgency. You can lose a piece of business that you never even knew you had because you linked out to another website. And once they're gone, they may never come back. Registering the warranty is part of that as well. We have great processes for doing that. So warranty registration builds value as well. And we have fantastic programs for professionals through our Atlas Pro services. Sign up for a free account at atlasroofing.com/pro and see all the ways that we can help you. We're sort of at our last couple of minutes here as we round out the webinar. So we're going to sort of pause here and see if we have any questions from the group, and we are just so appreciative that you guys spent an hour with us today. So let's see if any questions fire in, T.
Yeah, if you have a question about Core4 or a question about something practical you could do to create urgency, how to separate yourself with consumer choice, going back to that best, better, good scenario, how do you practically install that? Go ahead and put that in the chat. We would love to answer that. While we're waiting for you guys to put that in, I've seen a couple of questions around, hey, how do I get access to this webinar? How do I get these slides like Stan was referencing earlier? If you're on here, good news. You'll get a notification from the Atlas team in 24 hours or less that will have all of these slides and this presentation of the webinar available for you. You'll also be able to check us out on Asphalt Life. And if you're in an area, if you are trying to see what the heck Stan and Paul are talking about in your local area, hey, guess what? We are probably coming to your market this year. Be sure to go check out that link I just put in the chat. Go to atlasroofing.com/events. All of our events are going to be listed there, and I promise you one thing, we will be in your area. We love getting out in front of our contractor audience. We love saying hello, answering questions, and just really engaging with our audience.
Great question we just got from one of our audience members. Is Core4 still categorized with other competitors' SBS? It's such a great question, and the answer is, our polymers have moved beyond traditional SBS. So when you see other manufacturers, other leading shingle brands that are promoting SBS, we've actually taken a step beyond that and enhanced the polymer with even greater performance characteristics, which is why we're not calling it SBS anymore. It is an upgraded version of SBS that we're calling Core4 Enhanced Polymers. We changed the polymer several years ago when we started to see an opportunity to improve the mechanical uplift and pull-through results with a new asphalt so that we can offer those enhanced wind options. So that is a great question. We appreciate that question, and it's one step beyond. It's evolved beyond traditional SPS, which we've been making since 1992.
Another really quick comment, we got some requests for the Atlas Web Injector tool that Stan was talking about, embedding all of the products right there on your website so that you can access, and your homeowners, more importantly, can access everything right from your site. That's available within the Atlas Pro portal. So when you log into the Pro portal, that's available. All you got to do is check out the resources there at atlasroofing.com/pro. When you log in, you'll see it, and I'll put the URL right in the chat so that you can know where to go.
Yeah, everything that you guys are going to be looking for from Atlas in terms of tools that we talked about, we'll send you direct links, Francisco, so thanks for the question. But if you just create that Pro account, you're going to find a button and a link for it there.
It's free, right?
And it is free. And the other thing I would tell you is connect with your local sales rep. They are going to get a notification that you attended the webinar, and they can help you guide through that stuff as well, and we're here as a resource. But we're here to help you guys and help your businesses in 2020, and would love to connect personally. It's show season. So as Tiara said, we're going to be out at a lot of one-on-one events, but I'm going to call out a couple. The Builder Show, we will be at the 3M booth in 2 weeks at the International Builder Show with Mike Holmes and their crew. So come see us at the 3M booth. The International Roofing Expo is in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
The roofing state, right? You know, that's where there's a lot of roofing going on in Texas. So if you've never been to the IRE, it's a really important industry show that you should come check out. Win the Storm is in Phoenix, Arizona this year. We will be out there. Really interesting, fun show with phenomenal educational content and speakers. Very different show for our industry, but something worth checking out. And then if you're interested in figuring out how to incorporate a door-to-door strategy into your business, Tiara is going to be at the D2D Con in Salt Lake City next week. So last minute, but hey, it's winter time. If it's slow, go get educated, go attend a show, invest in yourself, invest in your people, and take a couple people out to get educated this first quarter of the year.
Hey, guys, you got this. I'm so excited about 2020, so excited about seeing you guys out in the marketplace. We're looking forward to it. Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.